I'm Bob Scales. I own Auld Reekie, and that's basically a Romulus design, which was 7¼ gauge loco, designed by Roger Marsh back in the either late 60s or early 70s, round about then. Prototypes Romulus and Remus, built by Jeff Orton. This particular design of loco has been formative in 7¼ There must have been thousands built, I would think, over the world. In many different forms. Some of them even got 6 wheels as opposed to the original design of 040. It was designed as a well tank engine, but when I commenced the building I decided I didn't want to do that because I had this objective in mind to build cab work and body work to suit a Tallaght loco, which would have large side tanks. The side tanks also provide extra weight, both in water content and the fact that I built them out of rather thick brass. This extra weight's really essential for Romulus. It's a comparatively powerful engine and really needs extra weight to make use of that the torque that's available from the engine side of it. Commenced building back in the late 70s, but there was quite a gap when I did nothing on it for various reasons. My father got involved and he was quite interested in casting at the time, so he made patterns for wheels, axle boxes, horns, cylinders, and he actually cast them himself. He had access to a small foundry. He built those up, and I concentrated on the chassis and putting the bits and pieces together, boiler and bodywork. The boiler is in steel. The tube came from Round Oak Steel Works, must have been one of the last items out in the works before it closed down. The plates are from Denmark. I machined all the bits and pieces for the boiler, paying particular attention to weld preps. Welded parts of it myself under instruction from a professional welder, and the professional welder did the rest for me. He'd actually built by then 5 other Romulus boilers, so he's pretty used to constructing them by the time he got to mine, and I had made some slight modifications to mine to make the welding a little bit easier. Model must, from final completion, which was about 8 years ago, models run quite well, although I have had to change the wheels. The original cast wheels started wearing quite badly, so I've now put steel wheels on it. 1 or 2 other little points I've had to deal with it, but on the whole it's run quite well and pulls people very successfully. The paint finish was put on by a chap in Arbroath who normally does lorries. He agreed to have a go at painting it. He did take a rather long time, but he made a rather nice job of it. It's based on Great Western colours 1923, complete with full lining that would normally be found on a Great Western Express locomotive. It's a little unusual, but I quite like it. I think it goes very well with the bodywork that was, as I say, was designed based on a Tallaght loco. The name's interesting. All my friends at the time were based in Rugby, and they'd built Romulus and called them Welsh names to suit the Welsh narrow gauge locos that were around at the time. So I decided to be different, and I'd heard of this nickname for Edinburgh, Auld Reekie, which is old smoky, so I thought I'd call it that, and it would be unusual. But the first time I took the boiler for a test was at Bob Smith's at Comrie, and he looked at the name and he said, "Oh, I've got an Auld Reekie as well." So also Romulus. So I decided then Auld Reekie in Scotland wasn't so uncommon as I thought it would be. Still, it caused a few laughs. It's a little bit fiddly to drive because there's no axle pump on it, so you've got to be on the ball with injectors and keeping the fire up to scratch. If you put too much coal on, it'll cool the fire right down, and before you know where you are, you're short of steam pressure. Similarly, too much water in it, you're short of steam pressure. So it does require a lot of constant attention, and when pulling passengers at the club track, I usually put a fair bit of coal on at the station, which lets it warm up and splinter before too much is thrown out the chimney. And then there's 2 downward gradient areas where I can put water in as the pressure's coming up, just to keep that under control and keep the water level topped up. I did consider looking at a trailer, but from quite early on, I decided trailers were a little bit restrictive, so I purchased a Zafira and originally put it into that, and it just fitted, and the capacity of the Zafira was just adequate for the weight of the loco. Oh, I'd also built a tender to go with the loco, make it easy to drive and make it part of the whole picture, and that fitted in alongside. But in more recent times, I've decided to get a van, which enables me to carry both Auld Reekie and other locos as well. Makes life quite flexible. It's amazing what you can get into a vehicle if you put a piece of plywood in the bottom and fit rails to it. Tie downs are important. I've made a point in the van of putting additional tie downs in, so that I can strap my loads down very effectively, stop them moving in the event of problems.